Hey guys, how are you today? Quick rant before we dive into today's chaos. As some of you might have noticed, YouTube's algorithm has decided I'm not special anymore. Shocking, I know. So now if you don't like, comment, or do a little backflip in the algorithm's honor, this video might just vanish into the void, never to be seen again. Seriously though, even a hi or "this is wild" in the comments helps way more than you think. It tells YouTube, hey, people actually like this channel. Maybe don't hide it from everyone. That can really help push my videos out to a wider audience, not just to my subscribers. So if you enjoy these stories and want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it. Now grab a drink, get comfy, and enjoy the drama. You won't want to miss this one. Hi everyone. So, things have happened in my life and now I'm wondering if I took things too far. I just need an outside perspective because I feel like I might be the bad guy here, but I also feel justified. I don't know. You guys tell me. So, I, Megan, 32 female, have been married to my husband, Nate, 37 male, for a few years now. It's been mostly good. I work as a store manager and he works as a welder. We both make a decent amount of money. It's not a lot, but we live comfortably. Neither of us wants kids, so that helps financially since we don't have to budget for things like daycare or saving up for a kid's college fund. We split all our expenses equally, which I always thought was fair considering we both work full-time. Now here's where things start getting tricky. Nate was married before to a woman named Clara, 36 female. From what I understand, their relationship just kind of fizzled out. Nothing dramatic, no cheating, no big fights. Just one of those cases where they got married young and then realized they weren't really right for each other. They ended things after 2 years. After the divorce, Nate was required to pay Clara alimony for a few years. This was all before I even met him, but he told me about it early on in our relationship. When we got married, he brought it up again, basically saying, "Hey, I'm still making alimony payments, so I might need you to cover a few more expenses until that's over." And I was fine with that. It made sense. We're a team, right? I didn't mind pitching in a little more while he took care of his past obligations. The thing is, those payments were supposed to end 2 years ago, as in, he should have been free of that financial burden for a while now. But for some reason, I was still the one covering more of the expenses. At first, I didn't really question it. I figured maybe he just needed time to adjust his finances, or maybe work had been a little slow. But then I started noticing patterns. One month, he said he had to send money to his family because his mom was struggling with bills. The next month, he said work had been slow, so he didn't make as much. Another time, it was a surprise expense, like his truck needed repairs or his tools needed replacing. There was always something, and every time I was the one covering for it. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't struggling financially. I could afford to pay more. But after a while, it started to feel less like helping out, and more like I was just carrying him. I mean, I work hard for my money too. I have my own financial goals. I wanted to save for vacations, maybe upgrade our home a little, build up my emergency fund. But every time I thought I'd have extra money to put towards something I wanted, I'd have to step in and cover something for Nate instead. I brought it up a few times, just casually like, "Hey, didn't your alimony end a while ago? Shouldn't we be splitting things equally again?" And he'd always have an excuse. He wasn't trying to be sneaky about it, but he always had some reason why he just needed a little more time to get back on track financially. At first, I believed him. I mean, I love the guy. I trusted that he wasn't taking advantage of me. But after 2 years of this, I started feeling like a fool. I was paying more for everything: rent, groceries, utilities. And for what? His excuses weren't even that good anymore. He'd say things like, "Oh, I just didn't have time to move money around this month," or "I'll pay you back next month." But next month would come, and it would be the same story all over again. This was until I found out from his bank statements that he was still giving Clara monthly alimony payments, even though their divorce settlement ended 2 years ago. At first, I thought I must have read it wrong. I stared at the statements thinking maybe there was some mistake, or maybe I was missing something. But nope. It was clear as day. I saw regular payments going from his account to hers. It wasn't a one-time thing. It was every single month like clockwork. I felt sick. I had been paying extra for so many things, thinking he was struggling or just getting back on his feet after years of alimony. I had never even questioned it that much. I just assumed we were in this together, and if he needed help for a while, I could step up. But now, I was looking at proof that he had been lying to me this whole time. I confronted him as soon as he got home. I didn't even try to ease into it. I just asked him straight up, "Why are you still sending Clara money?" He looked at me completely caught off guard. He didn't even try to deny it, which honestly would have been worse. Instead, he just sighed and said, "Because I feel bad for her." I was floored. "What do you mean you feel bad for her?" That's when he told me that Clara was struggling financially. She had lost her job a while back and hadn't been able to find another one. She was, according to him, having a hard time making ends meet, and he felt guilty about how her life had turned out. I just stared at him. I was waiting for the part where he'd tell me this was temporary, or that he had planned on telling me eventually, but that never came. He just looked at me like I was supposed to understand. I asked him, "What does this have to do with you? You guys got divorced years ago. You paid your alimony. You don't owe her anything." And you know what he said? "It's my money. I can do what I want with it." That honestly made me furious, not even because of the money itself, but because of how he was talking to me. It didn't feel like I was his wife. It felt like I was some random person he was sharing an apartment with. Like we were just two people splitting rent and minding our own business. No discussion, no consideration. Just, it's my money, and I'll do what I want. I told him that Clara was a grown woman, a 36-year-old adult. She had plenty of time to figure out her life. Whatever happened to her was not his responsibility. And honestly, I didn't care. I wasn't trying to be mean, but why should I care about her when she wasn't my problem? She wasn't his problem either, but for some reason, he was acting like he still had to take care of her. He got defensive. He said it wasn't like he was sending her thousands of dollars, just enough to help her out. He said he felt bad because she had been with him when he was younger, and he had moved on and built a new life while she was still struggling. I told him that was a load of crap. She had the same opportunity to move on that he did. She could have saved money, changed careers, done whatever she needed to do, but instead she was sitting around waiting for handouts. And worse, he was giving them to her. I reminded him that I had been paying more than my fair share of our expenses because I thought he needed time to get back on track after alimony. I reminded him that I had supported him through that because I thought we were a team. And now here I was working my off paying extra bills while he was just handing money to his ex-wife like it was no big deal. He didn't have much to say to that. He just kept repeating that it was his money. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was like he didn't even care about how this affected me. I wasn't even mad about the money itself. I was mad about the lying, the secrecy, the complete disregard for our partnership. I had been putting in more than my share, making sacrifices while he was out here playing savior to a woman he hadn't been married to in years. I asked him, "Would you have ever told me about this if I hadn't found out?" And he hesitated. Then he finally said, "I didn't think it was necessary." That was it. That was the moment I realized how little he respected me in this situation. He didn't think it was necessary. He didn't think I deserved to know. He thought he could just keep doing this month after month and that I would never find out. I didn't know how to act. Honestly, I wanted to sort of teach him a lesson. I don't know why I did this. Maybe I was being petty. Maybe I was just fed up. Or maybe I just wanted him to see how it felt to be on the other side of things. But either way, I decided I was going to do something about it. So, I talked to my boss and told her I had a family emergency and needed to work from home for a few months. She was really understanding about it, thankfully. She agreed, no questions asked. This was about 2 months ago. When I got home, I told Nate that I'd been let go. I didn't make a big dramatic scene about it or anything, just casually dropped it into conversation. I told him that I had been laid off and that my last paycheck had already been processed, that I'd be looking for jobs. But for the time being, I didn't have any income. He was actually really sweet at first. He hugged me, told me everything would be okay, said that I was smart and hardworking and would find a new job in no time. He even offered to help me look for openings. That part honestly made me feel a little guilty. But I reminded myself that this was a man who had been lying to me for 2 years. A man who had let me pick up all the extra expenses while he funneled money to his ex-wife. A man who told me it's my money. I can do what I want. So I stuck to the plan. I stayed home, worked in secret, and told him I was job hunting. Then after about 2 weeks, I started asking him for money for the bills around the house. These were bills I usually paid for, things like groceries, internet, utilities, my car insurance. At first, he didn't say much. He just handed me the money and said, "We'll get through this together." But then after a few more weeks, he started getting a little frustrated. I guess it was starting to add up for him. He started asking me things like, "Do you really need all of this money? Or are you sure you can't cover at least some of it from your savings?" That's when I told him that actually a few months ago, I had to help my mom out with something that I had dipped into my savings to take care of her. He was shocked. His face changed immediately. His whole attitude shifted. "Why didn't you discuss this with me?" He asked like he was personally offended. And oh my God, I wanted so badly to say it's my money. I can do what I want with it. I wanted to throw those words right back in his face. I wanted him to hear them and realize just how messed up it sounded. But I was playing the long game. So I just shrugged and said, "It all happened so quickly that I didn't get a chance to discuss it with you." His reaction was priceless. He was so annoyed. He kept asking questions like, "How much did you give her? Why didn't you tell me sooner? What if we had an emergency?" And I just kept playing dumb, acting like it wasn't a big deal, just like he did when I asked him why he was giving Clara money. He was clearly bothered by it, but he didn't push too hard at first. He still had a bit of that supportive husband act going on, telling me we'd be okay, that he'd cover things for a little while. But as the weeks went on, I could tell it was starting to get to him. Suddenly, he was the one feeling the weight of all the expenses. He was the one watching his account balance go down every month. He was the one having to sacrifice things. After a few days passed, I decided to take things a step further. I wasn't sure why I felt so strongly about proving my point, but something about the whole situation made my blood boil. I guess I wanted him to feel just a fraction of what I had been feeling for years. So I asked him for money, not for bills or necessities, but for my own personal expenses. This was something I had never done before. I had always been independent, always covered my own things without asking for a dime. Even when I was paying more than my fair share of the household expenses, I still made sure to take care of myself. I kept it small at first, just enough for little personal things. But then I asked for more, telling him that since I wasn't working, I needed support. If he was willing to send money to his ex-wife, surely he wouldn't mind helping his actual wife, right? Well, that's when the cracks really started to show. He completely lost it. He started going on and on about how I needed to get a job, how I was turning into someone lazy and irresponsible. He told me I couldn't just sit around doing nothing and expecting him to take care of me. He never saw Clara as lazy. He never told her to go get a job. He never questioned why a 36-year-old woman couldn't support herself. He just handed over the money without thinking twice. But me, his wife, the person who had been carrying most of the financial weight in our relationship for years. The second I was jobless, I became a burden. I asked him why it was different, why it was okay for him to support his ex-wife, but not his current wife. He got defensive, saying it wasn't the same thing, that Clara had no choice, but I did, that he was just helping someone who needed it. And that's when I snapped. I told him that it was a good thing I never actually quit my job, because clearly he had no problem watching me struggle while he continued playing savior for his ex-wife. The second I said it, he froze. He looked at me completely blindsided, like he had just found out I was an entirely different person. Then the anger kicked in. He said I had crossed the line, that I had tricked him. He couldn't believe I had lied about something so important. I just sat there letting him go off, because here's the thing. He had been lying to me for years. He had been taking my money, letting me cover the majority of our expenses, all while secretly giving hundreds to Clara every month. And now, suddenly, I was the bad guy. He stormed out of the room, fuming, muttering about how I had taken things too far. And honestly, I don't know. Did I? Was I wrong for handling it this way? Was there a better way to make him understand how unfair this whole situation was? So, Reddit, am I an a-hole? Not the a-hole. This is financial infidelity. Full stop. He diverted joint resources by asking OP to shoulder more while secretly subsidizing his ex. That's a betrayal of trust and partnership. OP's fake layoff stunt wasn't kind, but it exposed the double standard. He calls OP lazy while hand-feeding his ex. And now let's hear community's opinion. Everyone sucks here. He lied for years and minimized your concerns. That's bad. You responded with a deception of your own. Two wrongs escalated the mess instead of fixing it. If you want the marriage, pause the blame Olympics and get into counseling. Draft a written money agreement. Who pays what, disclosure rules, spending caps. And shut down third-party financial obligations, unless both agree in writing. If he can't agree, you have your answer. Your core point is valid. The way you proved it was manipulative. Faking unemployment turns you into the unreliable narrator even when you're right, and it gives him a deflection. You lied too. If you want moral high ground and long-term change, lead with direct boundaries. No more payments to Clara. If you choose to send them, I choose to leave. If he won't choose you, and transparency, then choose yourself. Update. Well, things have escalated a lot. I wasn't expecting to post an update, but after everything that's happened, I feel like I need to. So, after the argument, things were tense between us. He barely spoke to me for days, and when he did, it was short and snappy. It was like he didn't even want to look at me. But I wasn't backing down. I wasn't going to be the one to apologize for his actions. He was the one lying to me, prioritizing his ex over me, and taking advantage of my willingness to support him. I thought maybe, just maybe, he'd take a step back and reflect. Maybe he'd realize how unfair he had been. Instead, I found out something even worse. A few days after our fight, I noticed he had changed the password to his phone. That was weird, because he never used to lock it before. I wasn't the type to go through his stuff, but now I was suspicious. So, when he was in the shower one night, I grabbed his laptop, which I knew he rarely logged out of. And then I saw his email history with Clara. He had paid her rent again. I took screenshots of everything and confronted him when he got out of the shower. He tried to deny it at first, saying it was just temporary until she got back on her feet. Then, he tried to say it was barely anything compared to what I made. I told him to cut the crap. He had been fully supporting another woman while telling me that he couldn't pay me. He had been lying to my face while playing victim when I asked for a little financial help. He admitted he had been helping Clara out because he felt responsible for her not having a job. Apparently, during their marriage, she had wanted to go back to school, but he had discouraged it, saying they couldn't afford it at the time. After their divorce, she struggled to find stable work because she didn't have a degree. So now he was making up for it. I just stood there staring at him. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He had no problem watching me struggle, but for Clara, he was bending over backwards because of guilt. I asked him if he still had feelings for her. He immediately denied it, saying it wasn't like that. He just wanted to do the right thing. I told him the right thing would have been not lying to me for years. I packed a bag that night and went to stay with my sister. I needed space to think. I wasn't about to sit in that house paying for everything while he played savior for his ex. The next day, he blew up my phone with messages saying I was overreacting, that we could talk this out. Then he went back to being angry, saying I was the one who started this by tricking him. So, after taking some time to cool down at my sister's place, I finally decided to meet up with Nate and talk things through. I needed answers. More than that, I needed to understand how he thought any of this was okay. We met at a diner, and he already looked irritated, like I was the one who had wronged him. The moment I sat down, he started going on about how I humiliated him, how I set him up with my fake job thing. I let him rant for a minute before I cut him off. I told him to stop playing the victim. He wasn't the one being lied to for years. He wasn't the one who had to find out through bank statements that his spouse was secretly funding another household. Then he finally admitted something I wasn't expecting. He wasn't just helping Clara out of guilt. He was afraid of what would happen if he didn't. Apparently, Clara had been emotionally manipulative during their marriage, and after the divorce, she played the same games. She had hinted that she would end up on the streets if he didn't help. She constantly reminded him that if he had just let her go back to school, she wouldn't be in this mess. She made him feel like her struggles were all his fault, and for years, he believed her. I sat there trying to process it all. It didn't excuse what he did to me, but for the first time, I could see how deep he was in this mess. I asked him why he didn't tell me, Why didn't he trust me enough to talk about it instead of lying? He looked down at the table and muttered, "Because I knew you'd tell me to stop." I told him that I needed time to figure out if this marriage was even salvageable. And honestly, I'm not sure it is. I want a partner, not someone who makes huge financial decisions behind my back. Not someone who puts another woman's well-being before mine. Not someone who only stops doing the wrong thing when they get caught. So, for now, I'm staying with my sister. I've started looking into separating our finances, and I'm slowly coming to terms with the fact that maybe this marriage wasn't built on the kind of trust I thought it was. Update 2. Hey everyone, I didn't expect to come back with another update so soon, but a lot has happened. I took some time to think after my last post, and I appreciate all the advice and support. I wanted to give you all an update on where things stand now. So, after I told Nate I wasn't coming home, he took it hard. At first he was defensive, but over the next few days, his tone completely changed. He started calling and texting me, not to guilt-trip me, but to really talk. He admitted that he had messed up, and he wanted to do whatever it took to fix things. I wasn't ready to jump back into anything, but I agreed to keep talking. We had long, hard conversations about everything. Why he kept sending Clara money, why he lied, why he didn't come to me first. And through all of it, I started to see something I hadn't before. Nate wasn't just manipulated by Clara, he was conditioned by her. Their marriage had been toxic in ways I never fully understood. She had made him feel like he owed her something, like he had ruined her life by leaving, and he carried that guilt for years. But the biggest thing is that he knew he couldn't keep living like this. After weeks of talking, he made a decision to cut Clara off completely. No more money, no more contact, nothing. He sent her a final message saying that he wouldn't be making any more payments, and that it was time for her to take responsibility for her own life. Then he blocked her number. He blocked her on everything. And just like that, the financial lifeline she had depended on for years was gone. Clara did not take it well. About a week later, Nate started getting emails from random accounts. Clara was losing her mind. At first, it was just the usual guilt tripping. How could you do this to me? You promised you'd always take care of me. You're leaving me to suffer. But when that didn't work, she escalated. She started showing up at his work. The first time, she caused a scene, screaming at him in the parking lot about how he had destroyed her life. His co-workers had to ask her to leave. The second time, security escorted her out. She even tried contacting me, sending long, unhinged messages about how I had turned him against her and ruined her stability. She claimed she was on the verge of losing her apartment and that it would be my fault if she ended up homeless. I didn't respond. I wasn't about to entertain her nonsense. Nate, on the other hand, had a huge reality check. Seeing her unravel like that made him realize just how toxic and manipulative she had been all these years. He admitted to me that he felt relieved to finally be done with her, even though part of him still felt guilty. But for the first time, he was putting us first. After seeing how committed he was to making things right, I agreed to move back home, but with conditions. The first thing is full financial transparency. This means no more hidden payments, no more secret accounts. We both know where the money is going. Next is couples therapy. If we were going to rebuild trust, we needed help. He agreed without hesitation. Last one is boundaries with Clara. He had already cut her off, but I made it clear that if she ever tried manipulating him again, we would handle it together. It's been good, better than I expected. I won't pretend it's perfect, and I won't say I've completely forgiven him yet, but he's proving that he's willing to change. And for now, that's enough for me to keep trying too. Thanks for sticking around, Reddit. Update 3. Hey Reddit. It's been a while, but I figured I'd come back with a final update. A lot has changed, and honestly, I didn't expect things to turn out the way they did. So, it's been about 6 months since everything went down. Nate and I have worked hard to rebuild our marriage, and for the most part, things are good. Therapy helped a lot, especially with communication and trust. I won't lie, there were moments when I wondered if I could ever fully trust him again. But over time, he proved that he was serious about changing. Financially, things are much better now that he's not secretly funding his ex-wife's life. We've built up our savings, and for the first time in years, we feel like a real team. No more secrets, no more lies, no more feeling like I'm in a competition with a woman he divorced over a decade ago. After Nate cut her off, Clara spiraled. The guilt-tripping and manipulative emails turned into full-blown harassment. She used every trick in the book, calling from unknown numbers, showing up at his job, even messaging his family to try and get them to pressure him into helping her. At one point, she sent me an email begging me to convince Nate to help her. She claimed she was homeless, jobless, and out of options. She even said she was having a health crisis, but couldn't afford medical care. I ignored it. Not my problem. But then one day she just disappeared. No more calls, no more emails, no more drama. At first, I thought she had finally given up. But then, through the grapevine, we found out what actually happened. Turns out, Clara had burned every bridge she had left. Friends, family, even the few men she had been stringing along. Everyone got tired of her endless soba stories. When she ran out of people to manipulate, she tried one last desperate move, which was suing Nate for more money. She tried to claim that he had promised to support her for life, and that by cutting her off, he had left her destitute. It was completely ridiculous, and the case got thrown out almost immediately. But the judge wasn't amused by her antics, and warned her that if she kept harassing Nate, she could face legal consequences. That was the final straw. From what I heard, she packed up and moved to a different state, supposedly, to start fresh. Last I checked, because yes, I peeked at her social media once in a while. She was trying to reinvent herself as a self-help guru. The same woman who spent years manipulating and emotionally blackmailing people is now preaching about independence and healing. The irony is unreal. Cutting Clara out of our lives was the best thing that ever happened to us. I don't think Nate fully realized how much she was draining him financially, emotionally, and mentally until she was gone. He's lighter now. I won't say I forgot everything that happened, but I can say that I forgive him. He worked to earn that. So, I guess this is the end of the story. Thank you all for supporting me through this.